WTKR TV. This is News 3 Live at 5 with Ed Hughes.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ed Hughes, and welcome to Live at 5. There was a special roast tonight for a well-known radio personality in our area. His name, Bob Calvert. Bob started his Hampton Roads radio career at radio station WGH. That was back in the 50s, and he remained there for 15 years. Then he moved over to WFOG, Fog Radio, and at the same time, he hosted a jazz show on WHRO-FM. He's also a man of many voices and is known throughout the commercial world, both local and nationally. He suffered a stroke recently, and indications are that he'll recover and be back on the air soon. Now, his longtime friend, Joe Hopple of the WCMS radio team, well, he joins us live now from Tom's Tiki Thai restaurant on Holland Road in Virginia Beach. The morning team at WCMS. Joe, my good friend also. Nice to have you with us.
Hi, Ed. Welcome to Live at 5.
Welcome to That's My Lie, Joe.
Oh, whoops.
Tell me about Bob. We know that he suffered a stroke, and I was somewhat shocked by that, and it did affect his voice. What's the indications?
Yes, it did. The prognosis is good. Bob is continuing to recover, and we're hoping that he'll be back on the air before long. His speech is still a little slurred. He's still working on keeping his thought processes online, but things are looking good that he will recover, and we're hoping he'll recover completely.
All right, you've been in the area a long, long time. You've known Bob a long, long time. Give me a funny story about Bob Calvert.
Well, Bob has been around for so long that it's pretty hard to separate fact from fiction. There is a story, and Bob won't say whether it's facts or fiction. When he went from one radio station to another, the old manager called the new manager at the radio station and warned him about Bob, said Bob likes to bet. And so when Bob reported for work to the new radio station, the manager called him in and said, I understand you like to bet. Bob said, yeah, I do. He said, what do you bet on? He said, I'll bet on anything. He said, in fact, I'll bet you $100 that your nostrils are stopped up. And the new manager says, I'll take the bet. He said, how do we prove it? Bob said, well, stick a pencil up each nostril, and if they go up, then, we'll know they're not stopped up. So he stuck a pencil up each nostril in his nose. And Bob said, okay, you won, and gave him the $100. So he left. The new manager then called the old manager and said, hey, man, this guy's a sucker. Said, he just bet me my nostrils were stopped up. The old manager said, how'd you prove it? He said, I stuck 2 pencils up my nose. Why? He said, that son of a gun bet me $500, and within 30 minutes he'd have 2 pencils up your nose when he went to work for you. So, fact or fiction, we really don't know, and Bob won't tell.
I tell you what, let's make it fact. That's too good a story. Wolfman Jack's going to come up from North Carolina tonight. Wolfman actually got a start by listening to one of Bob's radio characters, didn't he? One of the voices.
Well, that's true. He has said that he patterned his character after Baron Bebop, which is a character that Bob did back in the 50s when they were getting into rock and roll big time. We're going to have a lot of other radio people here from Hampton Roads also, so we're looking forward to it. Should be a fun evening.
All right, Joe, and you give Bob our best. A lot of people out there are rooting him on, okay?
I'll do it, Ed. Thank you.
All right, Joe Hopple from WCMS. And let's turn around now to another old-timer. I call this show Sit and Spin. And up comes Andrew. You're going out there tonight to see Bob. I know that.
Oh, I wouldn't miss it for anything. Joe Hopple and Bob Calvert, and I might include Ed Hughes in that group. Nothing but class acts, and I wouldn't miss it for anything in the world. Bob and I have been good friends for a great many years, and he's a very, very talented, wonderful man.
Well, there was a fundraiser tonight for one of Hampton Roads' veteran radio personalities. Bob Calvert worked at WGH in the 50s and 60s, and he recently suffered a stroke. His distinctive style influenced a lot of today's broadcasters. Many of them turned out tonight to help raise money for medical bills. Wolfman Jack credits his image to Bob Calvert.
I remember seeing him getting out of a big, long Cadillac one time at a mall, and he had this little cap on and these long, flowing robes. And I said, yeah. I said, have mercy. That's how. So basically, I created Wolfman Jack from the Bob Calvert thing that he used to do.
Calvert's recent work has been for Studio Center, where he used his vocal talents in a variety of well-known commercials. Good to see everybody doing that tonight.
Yeah, baby, that's right.
Dave Dessler with WFOS is videotaping our shindig tonight. So if you'd like to buy a souvenir videotape of the goings-on here, they're $15, and $13 of that will go to the Bob Calvert Fund here tonight. You sign up at the table over here also, and that's cash, you know, cash on the barrelhead. Your $15, your name and address and phone number, and we'll get the tape for you. We also have some audio tapes that we're selling tonight. Dave Dessler and Chris White at Studio Center have put together some drops of Bob's through the years and some of the bits that Bob has done. And those are audio tapes, and they're $5 each. And that $5 also goes to the Bob Calvert Fund. We're here tonight to honor Bob Calvert, a guy who has who's done so much in radio right here in Hampton Roads down through the years. Before we get started, too, let me mention the people who work so hard to put all this together tonight. We'd like to give them credit. Pam Hughes from WFOG, Dave Dessler from WFOS, Don Wayne from WGH, Chris White at Studio Center, Betty Vickers with WHRO, Chris Astle with WHRO, Bill Walker at WGH, Mike Bump at 2WD, Jack Radigan with the Hampton Roads Association of Radio Broadcasters, and of course Tom Imeson here at Tom's Tiki Tie, and my name is Joe Hopple from WCMS. Round of applause for all the committee that put all this together tonight. There were so many things to do here. In fact, when we first told Bob that we were going to do this tonight, he had a typical Calvert comment.
Oh, for God's sake.
Well, you know how Calvert is. That's about the way he works. And we'll be hearing from Bob off and on tonight. We'll turn his microphone on a little bit later. But we are here tonight to honor Bob Calvert, a Hampton Roads radio legend. And it's my pleasure to be master of ceremonies for our function tonight.
Do your job, or we'll get somebody who can.
You're going to get the inside scope on Bob tonight from people who know him well. Now, many of you may wonder what Bob does after he's put in a hard day at the radio station over a hot turntable and a microphone. He'll tell you.
And go to sleep and blame myself.
Calvert, that was bad. That was bad. You got it.
Well, that's not good.
No, you're right. That's not good. Admit it. Nod your head. You done bad, right? You done bad. Bad.
Yes, Bob, you done bad.
Many a beginner in radio has come to Bob for advice. He's known for his classy production technique. Here in his own words is Bob Calvert's secret production technique. Don't miss
We'll
it.
put these down, and you will have to splice them together, put them on a cartridge, and do the thing.
There you are. That's how he does it. Thousands of commercials have benefited from that smooth Calvert touch.
The nut on the shell. Oh, shit.
I think you'll agree, when it comes to production, Bob Calvert is in a class by himself.
The lovers of fine carpets everywhere. Oh, you forgot to cue up the dang record, you idiot. Oh.
Bob Calvert also excelled on the air in spite of those occasional equipment
9
problems.
minutes. That's what I was trying to say. If they give me a clock I could read, I wouldn't have to fiddle. Yes, I wouldn't have to waste so much time trying to tell you. 9 minutes. Past 3 o'clock. WGH. Jockey, surfer, derby time. All right, you gonna help me do this one? Well, I don't care what you say. You help.
Well, Bob has that knack of hiding those little glitches that we've all experienced from time to time. He hides them. No one knows it.
Video is right with you. Well, won't wear off, President. Stay with it, boy. Stay with it, boy. Wait a minute. Give him a little help. A little more man on it there. Keep it going there. Come on. Keep going, baby. You're going to do it. That's it. Right through to the end there.
I mean, you have to admit, he's a class act.
Boy, let's give that little boy a hand there.
Class act all the way, Calvert. Anyone listening would never know you were having trouble. He just has that way of doing it. For all his success, though, and all the awards he won, Calvert has always maintained his typical Bob Calvert humbleness.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yes, he has. This is the humble Bob.
What you doing, Lou? Quiet. I'm going to put these guys at WGH in their place once and for all this time. Now, are we on the air? No, not on the air. That's good. Every time I push the button on this magic mirror, it answers Bob Calvert. Did you see that? How about that? Yeah. A mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all? Bob Calvert. See, regardless of what I ask it always answers the same. Bob Calvert. You going to use it on the air? Match. Who's the most talented mirror? Bob Calvert. Now, hey, we're on the air. Oh, we're on the air. Mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all? Come on, mirror, who's the fairest one of all? Roger Clark. You lie. Roger Clark. You lie.
Many, what?
Sake.
Tom,
We're going to give you a chance a little while, Bob. If we turn his microphone, we're not going to get anything done tonight.
I want to tell you that John Gary won a Grammy Award with that thing.
John Gary won a Grammy Award with that?
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Grammy.
The Pittsburgh Grammy. Oh, okay. Many a business in Hampton Roads has benefited from that special Calvert commercial touch. Listen carefully.
Wesley's at Pinewood Square. The beach is treating you to the light side. Come on in as Wesley's lightens up the menu and your wallet. They're lighting up the drinks in the lounge, adding just enough cool, crystal clear water to the booze to make it profitable for Wesley. Bring your wife and let one of Wesley's smartly coiffed waiters recite the menu and his phone number to her. Order the steak for two and bring the title to your car. Are the fish of the day fresh? Why, they're downright insolent. Are the shrimp steamed? Well, they don't look too happy about it. What have we got to lose? Lighten up and spend an evening at Wesley's Pinewood Square, the one place that has it all and intends to keep it. David Stockman is Wesley's accountant. Wesley's, they make staying home fun. Bring the kids. They'll enjoy the playroom in the trunk of Wesley's car. They serve crabs, so bring your brother-in-law. Wesley's, use your favorite charge or your blood type.
Class all the way, Calvert. You're all right. That's a little bit of the background of Bob Calvert so that you know just what the heck is going on here tonight, and you get to know him a little bit better as the evening rolls along. Just to set the mood for our first roasters tonight. Jingle from out of the past on WGH. I'd like to introduce to you now two voices from out of the past on WGH who need no introduction themselves, old sidekicks of Bob Calvert.
Thank you, Joe. It is fabulous to see this kind of turnout for those of us in broadcasting in need. I'm sure that you read the Paramount bought TVX Broadcast Group, and you might want to make a note that I'm unemployed right now with a huge house payment facing me. What about you, Dick?
You may not have noticed or read about it, but you know the WVEC television is canceling the television show that I've been doing, and there's a fellow by the name of Bob Sillerman that you may have read about in Fortune magazine who's getting ready to purchase 2WD radio. And so, of course, it was a natural thing when Joe Hopple called us and said, we're going to have a benefit.
Well, actually, when he called you, as I understand it, he started off by making the mistake of saying that he was going to hold an affair for one of Tidewater's best-known and most beloved radio broadcasters, and Dick immediately thought they were going to hold this for him, you see. But we're honored to be here tonight to participate in this tribute to a guy that those of us especially who had a chance to work with him over the years, know and love. And all of us have, I think, a few stories of our experiences with Bob.
Oh, when I came to WGH, I was about 9, I think. And Bob Calvert, old Boob, as we used to call him, was already the old master. And so I was the kid, and I could look up to this guy, and I came to WGH in 1958. And there he was, and I just watched and learned. I left a couple of years later and went away for about 4 years. I was in television in Baltimore and went out to Ohio for a while. I came back to WGH Radio after having been at the knee of this man. And I walk in, I have not seen nor talked to him for 4 years. I come in behind him in the studio, he looks in the mirror, and as the warm human being that Bob has never been able to bring himself to be, he said, "What the hell are you doing back here?"
I don't know whether, those of you that worked at WGH, and I see a lot of familiar faces, Kay Folks here, Ray Bottom is here tonight, but you certainly know that I personally owe Bob my career, and I mean this literally, at WGH Radio. Because if it had not been for this man, I probably would not be standing on this stage and owe as much money as I do tonight. And I'd like to expand on that just a little bit. You see, at about 1961, I think it was, Bob Calvert, at the height of his career, and this is back at the time when WGH Radio had and this is true, a 50 share of the audience in this market. I have some of those rating books at home framed, so that you just don't see shares like that anymore. And the afternoon drive personality that was the leader of those shares is the man sitting right up here tonight, Mr. Calvert. And at the height of that popularity, he quit the station. This is true. It took a lot of guts. And if you knew Bob back then, he had about 300 pounds of guts right here in front. So he quit and went over to WNR Radio. And that's when I was hired to do the afternoon show at WGH. I took Bob Calvert's place on the 3 to 7 show at WGH.
There went the 50 shares.
Yeah, right down to 5s. Well, after a few months, Bob came back to WGH. That whole scene at that time was incredible because Bob had one of those non-compete contracts. Ray Bottom will certainly remember this. And the station took Bob to court, and Bob won. That's right. Bob was sorry that he won because he got to continue working at WNOR Radio. And after a few months, Bob came back to WGH. And I'd never met Bob. And I was doing the 3 to 7 show, a show that had been a starring showcase for Bob for many years. And this is true. For the next 5 years, Bob did not speak to me. I was the kid. Anything that was said between Bob and me was relayed by someone else. Tell the kid, whatever it was. After finally, I'd say, "Hello, Bob." Nothing. After that first 5 years, Bob finally started to grunt a little bit in the hall. Come on. "Good morning, Bob." Oh. That was it. I will tell you that if it had not been for Bob and that second 5 years, we worked together about 10 years at WGH. First 5, not a word. Second 5, few grunts. It was through that experience that I learned that you can work with anyone. It was once you worked with Bob, you could work with anyone. And he is responsible for whatever skills I learned in management later, having to have a chance to work alongside Bob. Tell us the crutch story, Dick. Have you?
Well, Gene, once again, I've managed to dominate the stage, and
no different when we did the Disco Tin show, Dick.
Yeah, same problem. I'm not going to bore these folks any further. You've done such a great job of it. I truly would just like to thank Bob for the lessons I learned.
Crutch story.
The hell with the crutch story. There are thousands of people here who have something to say, and obviously we haven't. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity that I had to work with Bob for 3, 4, 5 years. It seemed a lot longer, but it was, I did learn a great deal from this fella. And I'm sure I still can. And Bob, best to you, guy.
Just for the record, Dick Lamb and Gene Loving. All right, fine. They really do need no introduction. You know, many people, when they first meet Bob, their first impression is he's rough, gruff, and insulting. But for those of us who've known Bob for a long time, under that exterior is a person who really is rough, gruff, and insulting. What can we say? That's Bob Calvert. Here's another voice from out of the past at WGH. Did news over there for a long time while Bob was there. Please make welcome Alan Presley. Alan? While Alan's making his way up here, here's some definitions. Dave Dessler ran across these, and I'll pass these along from time to time as we're coming up to the mic here. Definition of a DJ: someone who thinks job security is a parking space with a previous DJ's name painted out and theirs painted in. Man, ain't that the truth. Alan?
Thank you, Joe. I was looking out at all these people here tonight, and I was just thinking, you know, that it's probably about 1,000 years worth of radio experience in this room right here. And half these people probably fired the other half at one time or another. Incidentally, Ron Jacobak's looking for a job. His resume's at the door as you leave. First time I met Bob Calvert, you see this picture down here? One hanging up right down here? Well, when I first met Bob, I was about 15 years old. There was a sock hop at Princess Anne High School, and Bob was going to be the DJ, and we were standing out front, and this guy pulls up in a red Corvette convertible. He had black hair then, a black goatee, the red WGH blazer that you see there, and that's the very first time that I met Bob Calvert, and I spent the rest of that night bugging him. Play this, Bob. Play that. Play this. Get out of them records, boy. Get out. Get away. And it was about probably 20 years later that I worked with Bob. I've got a few Bob Calvert stories. Bob and I have a lot in common, believe it or not, outside of radio. We like motorcycles, don't we, Bob? I wrecked Bob's motorcycle and did $1,500 worth of damage to it. And he didn't have insurance. And that's a true story. I broke my shoulder, and the first thing Bob said at the hospital is, I don't have any insurance on my motorcycle. I'll tell you a couple of stories about Bob, and these are true, and you have to know Bob, which most of you do, to picture this. And a lot of you will remember this story, especially the WFOG crowd. Bob used to be invited to be the Santa Claus at the WFOG annual client party. Until one year, very important client's wife was walking by Santa Bob, and Bob says, "Hey, honey, come over here and sit on old Santa's face and tell him what you want for Christmas." I think the people that were at WFOG back then probably remember that was the last time Bob was asked to be Santa Claus. Bob and I were in a restaurant one night, and we were seated at a table, and a very refined couple came in and sat down at a table adjacent to us. And those of you that know Bob know that he has a tendency to build up a little gas occasionally. And he has no qualms about releasing it. So they had been seated there for a while, and Bob raised up off his chair, and there was a very audible escape of gas. The gentleman turned in his chair and said, "Excuse me, do you realize you just farted in front of my wife?" And you got to picture Bob to understand his reply. "Well, sir, I didn't know it was her turn."